Very good. The July 14th, 2021 special and regular meeting of the Yosemite Community College District Board of Trustees is hereby called to order at 5:40. This governing board meeting is conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953 and Governor Newsom's Executive Order N2920. Good evening, everyone. We thank you for your patience as we continue to navigate this virtual platform. We welcome the board members and others who are participating via Zoom. Please be advised that everyone participating via Zoom video or call has been muted with the exception of the board members and the chancellor. We also welcome any members of our district community and the members of the public who are viewing the meeting live via YouTube. Members of the public are welcome to record this meeting using their own personal devices. The district will also make the recording available on the YCCD YouTube channel for 30 days in accordance with our board policy 2365. As a reminder, board members are asked to raise their hands via Zoom when they wish to speak, or actually in person. Everyone is encouraged to mute their audio when not speaking to minimize disruption. The board is open to receiving public comments. The published agenda requested that public comments be submitted in advance of the meeting by email. Public comments will be read aloud by staff at the appropriate time during the meeting. Persons seeking to make an in real-time public comment may do so at the time of the agenda item and are asked to use the raised hand feature in Zoom. I ask the trustees to mute themselves at this time so that we can, I'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll move to 5.3, which is roll call to establish a quorum. Board stenographer.
Trustees, if you would please confirm that you are here and that you have a copy of the agenda. Trustee Nancy Hinton. Trustee Antonio Aguilar.
Yes.
Trustee Leslie Beggs.
Yes.
Vice Chair Darren Garrett.
Yes.
Trustee Milton Richards.
Yes, and here.
Trustee Jenny Nicolau. Yes. And Board Chair Margie Volkett.
Yes. Thank you, and we have a full quorum. 5.4 is report out of closed session by chair, and there are no reportable actions to report out from closed session at this time. 5.5, changes in the order of business. The board reserves the right to modify the order of business in a manner that it deems appropriate by consent of the board. At this time, I ask the trustees, is there any interest in changing the order of business on the agenda as published? There being none, the agenda will continue as posted. Moving on to 5.6 and 5.7, which is approval of minutes. We can take these separately or together. 5.6 is the approval of the minutes of the June 9th, 2021 Board of Trustees regular meeting. And 5.7 is the approval of the minutes of the June 23rd, 2021 Board of Trustees special meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I, Trustee Darren Garrett, move to approve both item 5.6 and 5.7.
Motion has been made by Trustee Garrett. Is there a second? And seconded by Trustee Hinton. Roll call vote.
Thank you. Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton. Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Nicolau. Yes. Chair Volkett.
Yes.
Vote is 7-0, motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to 5.8, public comments. At this time, I've asked the board stenographer to provide me with the list of public comments received via emails, and then introduce, after we go through those, of any in real time public comment requests. Please note that all email correspondence relating to this meeting will become part of the board minutes. And I recognize that we have public comment on a few items, and I will recognize the public comments that apparently relate to items not on the agenda. And I'd like to welcome first Monica Shatner. I hope that I'm saying that right, but if Shortner, if Monica Shortner, if her video can be and her audio unmuted. And while we're getting her, board stenographer, can you remind me what is the limit on public comment?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, very good. And you'll start the timer once we acknowledge our community member who wishes to speak. Monica Shortner, I don't see her yet.
I don't see her in the room. Oh, there she is.
Very good.
Hello. Hello, Chancellor Young and the Yosemite Community College District Board members. I'm sorry. Margie? Okay. Hello, good evening. To Jeff Swank and to everybody here. I have been very grateful for the opportunity to work at the college for 17 years. I have had the opportunity to mentor local and international students and help them to navigate and understand the educational system and local culture. As a member of CSEA's executive board, I have been listening to our members' perspectives. One general concern is the increasing cost of healthcare coverage. When I was initially hired at the college, I was under the impression that the healthcare coverage was inclusive. Then I learned that coverage was a yearly negotiated item. It seems that we are being asked to reconsider our original employment agreement annually. This concern needs to be investigated more fully to make a conscious and equitable decision. I have 5 bullet points to share to encourage the district to offer support for maintaining health coverage as part of the district's yearly budgeted items, rather than being negotiated annually. In negotiating a COVID relief stipend for employees, consider the risk of personal illness and even mortality, which could have also affected family and friends we were in contact with. This was very real to me. My mother-in-law passed away from COVID last year. I also contracted COVID, became severely ill, and was hospitalized. I am still recovering from serious respiratory effects of COVID and working through its long-term effects. While many employees were able and allowed to work remotely, there were a number of employees who were required to work on campus with increased risk to exposure. Employees who remained on campus used extra sick time. One member shared they used more sick and vacation time because of not being able to come to work with a cold, allergies, or a headache, since the symptoms were similar to those of COVID. The next bullet point, classified employees earn less than all employees of the district, and many are struggling to afford day-to-day expenses. Due to high inflation in recent years, consider offering the full 4.5% cost of living increase. Offering continued work remotely is an option for employees with a job description which doesn't require on-site work or affect productivity. This includes many employees. As a graphic artist specialist, I would be included in this group. In closing, there are a few impactful reasons here. Cost savings to the district, staff reports being more productive, creative, and healthier. Overall well-being has increased since there is a better work and life balance, more focus to complete work faster. Happier employees are better employees. Also, one more point. There seems to be confusion about what to expect when the campus is reopened. We ask the board to consider encouraging college administration to provide unified communication in emails and town hall meetings on what to expect. I sincerely appreciate your time and consideration, and thank you for listening.
Monica, Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Margie.
You know, the board so loves public comment, and it's irresistible to not want to say something, but I do have to acknowledge that I'm so sorry to hear about the passing of your mother-in-law and your illness. But outside of that, as you know, with public comment, we're not able to have a discussion with you, but I can't let that comment go without acknowledging your loss, and I'm so sorry.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
We'll move now. We have several more that wish to speak, and I'm assuming these are regarding items not on the agenda, because we do have a reopening agenda item. So if it's about reopening, we'll move. I will ask you to hold that till that item. John Heyer, are you available and on screen for public comment?
Yes, I'm available. I'm trying to.
Very good. Hi, John. I will start timing you. We are limited to 5 minutes. So please offer your public comment.
Thank you. Well, my name is Johnny, and I thank you for having me here. And I really appreciate you allocating your time for this important discussion. I'm with Small Town Allies Against Nicotine Dependence and the Young Adults Fighting Tobacco Coalition for the betterment of the district and the larger communities which these campuses influence. So while I attended Columbia College, I helped serve as the first president of the Rechartered Gay Straight Alliance, as well as introduce policy proposals regarding a campus-wide tobacco ban as senator for the Associated Students Senate. To complete my vision for a far more healthy and productive Yosemite Community College District, I ask you today to consider a district-wide ban on tobacco, nicotine, and vape products. So here are some facts I'd like you to consider about the targeting of the LGBTQ+ community by Big Tobacco, and have been an area of focus for me as a gay youth leader. According to Harriet A. Washington and Burning Love, Big Tobacco takes an aim at LGBT youth. Since the 90s, in California alone, the tobacco industry has funneled resources into LGBTQ+ media and has surgically invested billions of dollars each year in targeting gay communities like the Castro and Tenderloin districts in San Francisco, as well as many, many other hotbeds of representation. Further, in the age of the internet, the advent of big data has led to social media sites selling their information to the advertising departments of the tobacco industry, leading to an entire generation of LGBTQ+ youth to be bombarded with highly specialized, nearly ubiquitous tobacco and vape ads whenever they open up their phone. The results of these last 30 years have led to lesbians smoking 3 times as much as their heterosexual counterparts, and gay men smoking twice as their straight counterparts, according to Tobacco Free California. These last 30 years, of course, have made a measurable impact on our campus communities. As a Columbia College alumnus, this means quite a few things. What this means first for the district is that the rise of any representation for these groups will mean the swift and severe bombardment of vape, nicotine, and tobacco advertising that will target the most vulnerable members of these communities. Further, what this means is that the health resources offered by any campus in the district will continue to support higher budgets to deal with the negative health outcomes of tobacco use among its students. In addition to this, it means that already existing health inequality for LGBTQ+ people and other groups targeted by Big Tobacco will continue to erode living standards for our students and their families, making them more dependent on state welfare programs and quantifiably contributing less to the economies of their colleges and wider communities. Finally, what this means that as long as Big Tobacco has an entryway into our colleges, it will strengthen its hold through lobbying and predatory propaganda campaigns to keep our communities addicted. In instituting a permanent campus-wide ban for all colleges in the district on tobacco, nicotine, and vape products, our communities will rebound from the disastrous health outcomes that the last 30 years have created, especially for the LGBTQ+ community. Further, the banning of these products on these campuses will lead to the reduction of costs on-campus and wider community medical services, and even began to address the systemic poverty that rages through our communities. I am John Heyer from the Young Adults Fighting Tobacco Coalition, and I sincerely thank you for your time. Do you support a smoke-free campus?
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time and your public comment. We'll move now to Kamal Chand, who wishes to offer public comment, assuming again that it's an item at this time not on the agenda. Kamal, are you there? I'm going to move on to the next person. If Kamal, circle back to Kamal because I can't see her right now. I'll move to Chelsea King. Is Chelsea available? Okay, I'll circle back to Chelsea, but I do see Fadehe Mulana Zada. I see her on, at least her name. Fadehe, can we see your video and audio? Very good. I see your audio coming and your video. Hello, Fadehe. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Fariha Mulana Zada, and I'm a student from Modesto Junior College. I'm the president of the Pre-Health Club, a part of the Smoke-Free Campus Task Force, and a young adult fighting tobacco. As a member of the YAFT Coalition, Young Adults Fighting Tobacco, I'm here today to ask the Yosemite Community College District to support a smoke and tobacco-free campus. We are currently in a pandemic and a lot of research are being done related to COVID. In the light of these research, it has been found that COVID takes advantage of underlying conditions that tobacco creates. Tobacco use leads to disease and disabilities. And in addition to that, it harms nearly all organs of our body, especially our lungs. The coronavirus attacks the lungs in a similar manner. So if our lungs are already damaged by tobacco use, the effects of the virus could be worse. Based on the World Health Organization, people with poor lung function as a result of tobacco use may be at a higher risk of complications from COVID-19, and this is not a good news. Also, tobacco use compromises the immune system, making it weaker and making it more challenging to fight infection. And as a result, infections tend to be more severe. Based on studies conducted by researchers from Stanford, young people who ever used e-cigarettes are 5 times more likely to be diagnosed with COVID-19. Young people who ever used e-cigarettes plus conventional cigarettes are 7 times more likely to be diagnosed with COVID-19. I repeat, 7 times. Research also indicates that compared to non-smokers, having a history of smoking may substantially increase the chance of adverse health outcomes for COVID-19 patients, including being admitted to an intensive care, requiring ventilation, and suffering several health consequences. With all of that being said, having a smoke-free campus would help us confront COVID-19 and protect and improve health of students as well as faculty and staff of MJC. We, Young Adults Fighting Tobacco, want MJC to be smoke-free campus, and as students, we need your help. If it is okay with you, we would like to reach you individually to continue this important discussion further. But we want to ask you, do you support a smoke-free campus? Thank you.
Thank you, Fareha. As you know, we're not allowed to enter into a discussion with you, but so appreciate your public comment. Thank you for your time. I see that, first of all, I want to circle back to Kamal Chand. Is she available? I don't see her.
Chair Balkan?
Yes.
You know, when I went back to look at the public comment, they did write something to the board. And so I do have those. I can read them or I can distribute them to the board. I do see that there are 3 additional raised.
I see that. If you could make copies of those comments available to the board of what's been delivered, and I'll go now to the 3 raised hands. Thank you, stenographer. I see 3 raised hands, and as long as they're items we're taking right now that are not on the agenda, I'll ask Lisa Schutt. Are you available to address the board, Lisa Schutt? Hi.
Yes, thank you. Hi.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Chancellor. Okay, thank you. Good evening, Chancellor Young, Chair Bulkin, trustees, students, and fellow employees. My name is Lisa Shutt, and I've been working at Modesto Junior College since 1997, and I'm currently the CSEA chapter treasurer. I am very fortunate to work with classified colleagues that inspire and motivate me. I'm speaking to you tonight to acknowledge our commitment to the students and district we serve. Amid the many changes in YCCD leadership and budget challenges throughout the years, classified staff always remain dedicated and proficient. In fact, it's highlighted at board meetings each time they retire. When adjusting to the COVID crisis, classified staff were committed to upholding district and college operations with as little disruption as possible. Accepting our work assignments with uncertainty and trepidation, essential staff employed in areas including facilities, campus safety, and information technology continued to work on campus as others found new and creative ways to meet the needs of students transitioning to remote work. Actually, the entire YCCD community had to make sacrifices and changes to the way we worked. Classified staff, faculty, management, even U.S. trustees. Unfortunately, my CSEA colleagues are now facing rising concerns over fairness and equity, causing tension and lowering the morale. Some concerns include the difference in the amount of one-time COVID relief payments that were issued to classified staff and faculty. Next, the classified staff, some were required to use sick time and were not allowed to work remotely if they showed small minor symptoms such as a sore throat or headache because those were possibly COVID related. And in addition, they had to wait for a negative test result, increasing the amount of time that they had to use of their own. And lastly, the discussion of increased out-of-pocket healthcare expenses for employees, which would impact those at the lower salary levels more significantly. These are just some examples that have led to the staff feeling underappreciated and undervalued. I do appreciate all that you do as trustees in overseeing our district, and my ask is that you take into consideration the human element when making policy and financial decisions. There is confusion about what to expect when the campus is reopened. The CSEA leadership team would like to request that the board encourage college administration to provide unified communication in emails and town hall meetings for clarification. Thank you for your time, your service, and your consideration.
Lisa, thank you for your public comment. We have now Sitara Kurami, who would like to make a public comment. Sitara?
Hello, good afternoon. Unfortunately, I think I cannot turn on my video. Okay.
There you go. Very good. Welcome.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sitara Kurami, and I'm a student in Modesto Junior College, and I'm also one of the members of YAFT, which is a coalition of young adults fighting tobacco. And so I'm here to make a comment on having a smoke-free campus. We, the students of MGC, we want to have MGC as a smoke-free campus, and especially that now we are living in a pandemic, and we have COVID going around, and a lot of people are dying, and we also have Delta variant, which is a new variant of COVID-19, and it's really dangerous. I didn't want to talk about the report card that California Young Youth Advocacy Network have it, how MGC have an F grade on the report card, and we want to turn it to an A grade. And I think this is a great time for us to change MGC to a smoke-free campus, because like I said, we live in a pandemic, and COVID-19 can cost people their lives. And unfortunately, COVID-19 doesn't care about how old someone is or who they are. I can mention one of my coworkers who have asthma, and she's really afraid to go back to college because she has asthma and she's afraid to get the vaccine at the same time. And it's really hard for a lot of students to go back to college, like I said, because of COVID. And I asked the Board of Trustees to support us in this matter, and I'll also going to reach out to board members soon after this meeting to have a one-on-one meeting about this topic, and I hope you support us. Thank you so much for your time.
Satara, thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. That concludes the public comment requests that I've received so far. We do have another public comment related to 7.2, and I think that person knows that we will remember to call on them at that time. Very good. Moving now on to 6.1, the Board Finance Committee report. And I'll ask the committee chair, Trustee Garrett, to give that report.
Standard report, no meeting. I know a lot of people were disappointed, but nothing to report.
Very good. Thank you. Duly accepted. Moving on to 6.2, the Board Policy Committee report. And I'd like to ask the committee chair, Trustee Hinton, to provide that report.
Okay. Also, because of summer, the board policy did not meet. We will be meeting again for the first time in September.
Thank you, Trustee.
October 11th. October 11th.
We might want to get together in September.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on to reports and information, which is under item 7, and first is 7.1, presentation from Columbia College and Modesto Junior College regarding accreditation updates. And I understand that the Vice President of Instruction, Brian Sanders, and Vice President of Instruction, Jennifer Zellett, will give the accreditation updates. Greetings.
Good evening, Board Chair Vulcan and Chancellor Young. Dr. Sanders and I are privileged to be able to share with you over the next few months short updates about what's happening at the colleges with regard to accreditation. And so we just want to cover little pieces each time, and we'll be happy to answer questions. So my name is Dr. Jennifer Zellett. I'm the Vice President of Instruction, and as Brian and I were preparing tonight, we had a brief discussion that one interesting byproduct, if you will, of the COVID quarantine is that we have brand new board members whom I have never had the privilege of meeting. And so tonight is our first introduction. Welcome to YCCD, and I look forward to getting to know you better. Brian?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Brian Sanders. I'm the Vice President of Instruction at Columbia College, and checking in from San Diego. Just finished a face-to-face meeting, much like you folks are having there with our Jennifer and I are both privileged to be part of the Chief Instructional Officers statewide organization. Jennifer's our president-elect as of today, actually. So her first day, and we're both privileged to serve in that capacity and being forward in our roles as CIOs and in accreditation and those kinds of things. So need to be part of the statewide picture too.
So Brian, do you want to go ahead and share the?
I will.
Thank you. So tonight we just want to talk a brief introduction about what actually is a midterm report, and then we'll each give a brief update on where we are with our own colleges and what our midterm reports are going to consist of. So go ahead and go to the next slide, Brian. So midterm reports really are just an update. When we look at the big reports that we do, those are evaluative. And so, you know, colleges really work hard looking at their plans and goals and where they've come, where they're going, and setting out very detailed things and addressing each accreditation standard and micro standard. And so a midterm report is just that. We're halfway through our cycle, and we're looking at the plans that we told them we were going to accomplish And we're also looking at the recommendations that they gave to us. And we're reporting back on the progress of all of those things. There are some things that everybody has to include in their midterm report, and they are reporting out on student learning outcomes and reporting out on student performance on the institution set standards. So basically, we're updating the commission. So what we're going to talk about here are the possible outcomes. Briefly, our accreditation moment this time is talking about the potential outcomes for a midterm report. Brian's going to talk to you about some of the potential outcomes for a full site visit. There's a whole range of options, and then we'll compare that to a midterm report. Go ahead, Brian.
And so here's a slide that was created as part of our last accreditation site visit. It really has been motivational, and we found it, it's cheeky, but it's also, it does tell the story pretty well. So this is adapted from the pain scale from a hospital where, you know, how are you feeling today? And well, if you end up at the top of the screen here with a reaffirmation after your full site visit, it gives you 7 years clear, you are just jumping for joy, like the top piece of it there. But then, you know, maybe you get accredited for 7 years, but you need a follow-up report. And yeah, okay, that's pretty good. You get to the next category down there, reaffirmation accreditation for 18 months and require a follow-up report. So as of the last cycle, we ended up in that category. We were really good on a lot of things, but there was a few items that we needed to address on a short-term basis. There was a few recommendations that we had to address, and that was dealt with through a follow-up report, and the board was kept apprised of our progress on that. There's other categories as you go down there. Colleges might be placed on warning if there's repeated issues or systemic issues. They could be placed on probation. Usually probation comes after a warning status where some things are supposed to be repaired but hadn't been repaired. If things still aren't progressing well, then you can go into the category of show cause. One of our CIO colleagues just today was commended for having been, you know, her first day on the job was great, but the second day on the job, she was told that her college had been placed on show cause, and she was in this massive task of building herself out of that. And then in the worst case scenario, college could have its accreditation withdrawn for non-compliance with the accreditation standards. And you can see that that yields pretty much death of the institution there at the bottom of our pain scale. So those are the possible statuses as you come out of a full cycle of review. So each year, the Accreditation Commission has two major meetings, one of them in January and one of them in June, and they act on the cycle of accreditation that come before them, the schools that have gone through that full accreditation process, and then they report out to the field how different colleges have landed. So in this most recent report, June 9th through 11th meeting, you can see that Pasadena City College was reaffirmed in its accreditation for 7 years on the basis of a comprehensive evaluation. And so they're in that super happy category. The next college down, Cuyamaca College, was reaffirmed for 7 years, but they have a little bit of a follow-up report. So they've got, you know, kind of, yay, we're happy, but it could have been a little bit better, but they're in pretty good shape. Skip to the next screen. You know, some further on down, you might see College of the Marshall Islands that was reaffirmed for accreditation for 18 months, but there has to be a follow-up report and there has to be a visit. So they have to check on some things out there at the Marshall Islands after that one. And then, you know, some colleges are kind of in that not so happy zone here as they've been placed on probation. The 4 colleges you see in front of you are 4 colleges in the Peralta Community College District. And they have been in a series of concerns about their finances, about their management, and a lot of turnover and things. Going on down the line, sometimes it gets a little bit fuzzy. You wonder, okay, what does it mean for a second follow-up report, especially when Grossmont College is also part of the Grossmont-Cuyamaca College District. So something happened here. They just sort of defer their action on that one, and it's kind of fuzzy. Santa Rosa is in a special report. Santa Rosa in a special report category there due to their fiscal information. After all of the fires in the Santa Rosa area, they've been in a very interesting position, and so they're in a sort of a special category. So those are the possibilities. You can see that pain scale. What could possibly happen on a full site visit? You know, on that note, just before we move on, we are starting this fall the training process for our next full accreditation site visit. That's going to happen in the fall of 2024. but we were going to start training now, and then we'll start prepping next year, and we'll do the writing the following year to getting ready to go. So Jennifer and I will, over the next several months, be giving you these quick updates, and that'll be one of the things about the main report coming. So Jennifer.
So what are the possible outcomes of a midterm report? Essentially, your midterm report is accepted. In some circumstances, there may be outlying questions that the commission has. And what they do is they just say, could we have a little bit more information about this? And it's not even really a formal thing. They just ask for more information, and then the report is accepted. But the midterm report is not punitive or that kind of thing at all. It's just a check-in to help you sort of get the read on where you are on your plans and help you plan out the rest of the scope of your cycle. So really, it's just to make sure that colleges haven't written these beautiful plans, put them on a shelf, and forgotten about them. Indeed, the new accreditation model that ACC-JC has adopted is really based on continuous quality improvement. And for those of you that have come out of business or certain professions, you might be familiar with the Baldrige movement. And before I came to the Yosemite Community College District, I was at a four-year college in Michigan and was associated with the Higher Learning Commission. And I was part of the inaugural class where we modeled, it's called the Academic Quality Improvement Model. And it was based on the Baldrige model coming out of business, where it's this continuous quality improvement cycle. And it moved its way to the East Coast. ACC-JC has adopted it. And coming up in the fall, our new training is going to be the next iteration of this continuous quality improvement cycle. There will be more frequent contacts with our ACC-JC colleagues in such a way to support our continuous quality improvement, helping us set metrics that we're reaching for so that our students are better served.
All right, so in these monthly reports, we're going to talk just a little bit about our own colleges in addition to some of the information about accreditation itself. So quick Columbia moment, tell you where we're at. So in our self-study, we said that we would be evaluating our new governance structure. So just before we had our site visit, we added two new councils. We added Institutional Effectiveness Council and Student Success Council in addition to our College Council, and it was brand new. We did one quick evaluation soon afterwards, and it seemed to be working okay, but there was a lot of unknown. People didn't really know what the structure was. They didn't know if it was working or not. And so this last spring, we conducted another evaluation, like we said we would in our site visit report, in our institutional self-evaluation report, which is called the ICER. You can see that referred to in the last bullet down there. Point is, we said we were going to do an evaluation, and we did that evaluation. And what we learned was that knowledge base has really improved. People have become much more knowledgeable about how our governance process works. They feel like they have a role in it. But at the same time, we identified that there was a little bit of a gap. Our college didn't have a clear place where we would talk about sort of introductory prioritization of budgeting resources and those kinds of things. And so we are going to be working this fall to address that gap. We're going to figure out how to lead our college forward with a new kind of a governance structure that would add something to talk about budgeting. And then we'll go through our governance channels to get that approved and to put into place. That'll give us about 2 years afterwards to demonstrate that we're doing that part of our governance process effectively before our next ICER is due. There's Columbia.
And at Modesto Junior College, we have been working across our constituent groups to gather data and gather the information needed to prepare a midterm report. And the groups that have been involved are, of course, our Accreditation Council, which is co-chaired with our Academic Senate President, our online education team, our Guided Pathways Steering Committee, and our PIT crew. The ALOs, academic liaisons, for our accreditation liaison officers. Brian and I worked also with Vice Chancellor Javaharipur to address district content that needs to be common in both college reports. And so we're working collaboratively with district in order to make sure that all of those things are ready to go. For us, we had some items of consideration. We had 4 college items and 2 district items. And some of the college items actually they were easily fixed. Something to do with our mission didn't appear to be consistently represented across certain things, and it was actually just a typo. But some of that was very easily fixed. Other things, actually, there's overlap between what we've done in our quality focus essay and addressing some of the items of their concern. And so our quality focus essay project, one of our goals that we set forward to work on is holistic support of student learning and student learning outcomes. And as we've gone through that, we have identified some gaps, and we have a strategy for moving that forward. Our second project in the quality focus essay was clear educational pathways to improve student achievement. And that we achieved far beyond our metrics. This is all encompassed within our guided pathways plan. And it really, for our next iteration or the next remaining time in our cycle, we're actually beyond what we said we wanted to accomplish in the 7 years and off into our next iteration of guided pathways. And so next month, when Brian and I have a chance to speak with you, we'll dive a little bit more deeply into the quality focus essays and maybe have a chance to answer some questions. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you to both of you. We recognize that this is a cyclical thing. However, when it comes along, the runway for preparation is so important, and it's clearly obvious that both of you are cognizant of that important long runway to make sure that our takeoff is very good. I wanted to let you know that there's been a recommendation for a board special meeting topic to include Standard 4 for governance criteria, and we hope to do that within the next few months, so the board can catch up to the accreditation process as it relates to their duties. So I wanted to make sure that you're aware that recommendation has come forward. We don't have a date set yet for that, but that'll be coming. Any comments from trustees regarding accreditation at this time? Okay. Your microphone, I think you have to, yeah, there. Trustee Hinton.
Thank you. I just like to say great job. I know from being on accreditation in a K-12, the time that it takes, and I'm sure it's a lot more with the difference between the colleges and stuff, but it was a great report, and thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. We'll move now to 7.2, for which we do have a public comment in advance of our presentation. And the request for public comment has come from Colleen Lemberg. Colleen, are you available?
You want to take them before the presentation?
No, you know what, Colleen, if you don't mind, we'll do the presentation first, and before the board has any discussion, we'll take your public comment.
And I believe it'll be me reading her comment aloud.
Oh, very good. Thank you. We'll move now to the presentation of 7.2, which first is Laureen Campana from Columbia College. I don't see her on screen yet. Oh, there she is. Hello, Laureen. Nice to see you.
Hi. You ready for me?
Welcome. Before you start, I want to thank you on behalf of the board for beginning this ongoing update as you did last month, and giving us the snapshot of what we know today, because tomorrow it may change. And that the board has a goal from last year to continue to follow the circumstances relating to guidance from the governor's office, guidance from the public health divisions, and guidance in particular from our own health professionals and nurse professionals who work with students every day to help guide the reopening guidance based on the information, the latest information you have. So Laureen, thank you for your presentation last time and for this current update tonight. So go right ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, Trustee Bulkin, and all the area trustees. I'm glad to be here again and grateful to bring you an update from the 623 board study session that we had. Again, for those of you who don't know, my name is Laureen Campana. I'm the Nurse Practitioner Coordinator of Health Services at Columbia College. My colleague, Amy Ira-Barron, who helped prepare this information, is on a well-deserved vacation and offers to connect with anyone who wishes to speak with her next week when she's back in her office. So here is my offering of our COVID update. And of course, as Madam Chair said, this is the information we know at this time. And we can anticipate that all guidelines will be adjusted as we learn more data from the pandemic. I have to say one thing aside, I was just struck by nearly every comment and presentation today had some health moment in it. And I hope that we have a pain-free accreditation when we get to that point. Next slide. I'm going to start with the Stanislaus County update. So the case rate for Stanislaus County is down 1 case per 100,000 as of 7/13. It was 4.5 when I last spoke to you. The testing positivity rate is down 1/10 of a percentage point. It was 2.4 when we last talked. The vaccination rate for Stanislaus County is up, and I suspect that there was a backlog of needed updating in the California immunization record. They do report on their dashboard 47% of the population fully vaccinated and 12% partially vaccinated. And there is Delta variant in the county. You can do the next slide. I will say for both counties, the new infections are driven by the 18 to 29-year-old age group. Over 50% of those new infections in Stanislaus County is represented by that group. And that group also represents, as you might imagine, the lowest vaccination rates for both counties. So in Tuolumne, we're seeing a bit of an uptick. When I talked to you last, our case rate was 3, and we're now up to 5.3 per 100,000, which we have about a 4 to 7 daily case rate. We had 0 to 3 in recent weeks. We don't have any vaccine breakthrough cases, and I don't know the answer to that in Stanislaus. We do have the Delta variant in our county, which is about 60% more contagious. We also have about 1,000 more individuals than when I spoke to you last fully vaccinated. It still has us at about 50% of total population. The highest rates are in the older populations. Next slide. Of course. So looking at our guides that we're using to evaluate reopening plans, the CDC Institutes of Higher Education, Higher Education Guide, there have been no changes since the 623 board study session. They continue to recommend to determining if your campus is going to be vaccinated or a mixed vaccinated, unvaccinated population. I do want to comment that there are no guides that don't recommend opening a full campus. What I mean is full campus opening is possible in both scenarios. It's just a matter of policy for prevention. So there is no recommendations to limit classes or opening of campuses. You create the policy around the choice that you make for prevention practices. And all prevention practices are going to be looking to protect that vulnerable, unvaccinated population. That's a key concept in all guides, and to promote vaccination in both scenarios. I think we've heard that COVID still is a serious disease for some, and that's who we're trying to protect. Next slide. The California Department of Public Health also has had no changes for the Institutes of Higher Education. Recent guides lines from CDPH have changed the K-12 since the last time we met, but no changes have happened in Institute of Higher Education. The recommendation from the CDPH is still to follow the CDC IHE guide. Next. OSHA also, no changes since the last board study session. Key points do include that the requirement of physical distancing of 6 feet has been removed for all employees. Remains vaccine status verification is required. 3 options are possible and include self-reporting. unvaccinated employees should mask in indoor settings, and that definition of indoor room has been updated. And there are mask exceptions noted in the guide. And of course, we know in this last week, we received a direction from Vice Chancellor President G.H. Havaharipur for employees. So that has been helpful. Next. So the considerations are the same ones that we're looking at. We know that we are going to get updated guidance as community situation evolves. It's going to be different. The evolution of our community situations will depend on these and more, but what is the Delta variant activity? What are vaccination rates? What are prevention practices that are continued in small and large congregate groups? And of course, we hope that the pandemic continues to resolve in a downward trajectory, but we don't know yet. It could go either way, and we have to just continue to monitor our guidance and our community situations. One other piece I wanted to add at the end of my report is we talked a bit about vaccine requirements for campuses. And what I'm saying is I'm not recommending a mandated vaccine policy at all, but I do want to note that we do have programs in our colleges, all the allied health, the childcare practicums that do require vaccines for students to participate in those programs. And if they don't, it does preclude them from participation in most cases. So just a background on what's happening in one wedge of our community. So that's what I wanted to give you as an update. And again, I thank you for the time. And if you have any questions.
Laureen, thank you. And before we take questions, I know that the two presidents are a part of this report. It might be nice to get their presentation related to this so that the board can have a full discussion if necessary, or questions. So I'll ask first Dr. Javaharipur, do you have a report next related to this topic?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, a brief report. As Laureen noted, we have been working very closely with the health advisors, both Laureen and Amy from the two colleges. The EOC has been meeting Emergency Operations Center to review the latest guidelines from CDC, California Department of Health, Cal OSHA, in order to make decisions and moving the institution forward. As shared before, as of July the 6th, Columbia College has gone to 6 hours a day of providing face-to-face service. We were planning to shift to regular schedule at the beginning of the semester, but when we learned about the updates in these regulations and that some of these guidelines allowed us to bring our staff back earlier, the cabinet discussed, and we have notified our team that we definitely will be, all of us will be back on August the 2nd. In order to make certain that we are in a decent shape as far as taking care of our team members and students, there are PPE equipment, supplies all over the place. I mean, we have all of the PPE supplies. We do clean, we have scheduled cleaning. There is a large number of masks available. We have installed air purification, large ones in the more public areas, and then individual ones in the individual offices and desks. We have ordered additional 50 air purifying filters to make certain that those of us who would like to have one in our proximity can access one. So with that, we feel that we are in a position that we can get back to a level of normalcy, wearing masks inside the buildings, and be ready to serve our students. On a quick side note, I should share that we have been working at IT to make certain that we have enough hands on deck polling from all different departments within the Division of Information Technology to make certain that when our classified staff comes back, their equipment works. And we're working on a 4 to 6 hour turnaround, that if a printer is not working, if connectivity is not working, programs aren't working, so we can get those programs on and running. At Columbia College, since we have been open during the summer and our classified team members have returned over the summer, a lot of these issues have been already resolved. So majority of the IT's concentration is going to be at MJC and Central Services operations. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Javaharipour. Dr. Bandyopadhyay from Modesto Junior College.
Good afternoon. Dr. Javaharipour and Professor Campana has already provided the basics, and we are also working on the same ideas and elements. The two areas that I need to emphasize on is when we are talking about reopening of the college, one is operational and the other is emotional. We are looking at both of those aspects of how do we handle them. Operationally, we have, as of last week, or maybe a little bit longer than that, allowed all our student athletes to come back to the campus and use their weight training rooms and so on and so forth. Now, the operational difficulty that it creates is we have some who are vaccinated, who are willing to share their vaccination record, and some who are not willing to share or not vaccinated. When both those pods mix together, how do we treat them? Like those who are vaccinated, they can be inside a space without a mask. Those who are unvaccinated, they need to be separated or they need to be wearing a mask. Those kind of policing or infrastructurally operationalizing those are the difficulties that we are dealing with. Also, we are trying to be as student-friendly as possible because those who are unvaccinated, they have to have a baseline testing and create their reports. Once they do a report, that report needs to come to us and then they're allowed to practice. Many of the practices happen outdoors. How do we communicate with the coaches on a real-time basis that the students are allowed to participate? Those are the issues that we are navigating. Every day we face new issues and we iron out those issues with the eye that, there is nothing called a perfectly foolproof situation. We try to minimize our risks. We try to follow all the regulations, and wherever we have the opportunity of making a decision at our discretion, we do that in the interest of the student and the classroom in consultation with everyone. So far, it's been going well. There are some hiccups that are coming out. We're addressing those. Emotional aspect is more important, particularly once we have announced that we are going to be coming back to campus if required from 19th of July, and then on 2nd of August, everybody is coming back to the campus. That's kind of a little bit of a runway for people to figure out a variety of stuff that they are dealing with, right from childcare to their pet care to their life adjustment, because coming back to the campus after 15 or 16 months is not easy. And we are trying to have that communication and conversation to give everybody that feeling of comfort that we have to come back to the campus at some point of time. It has been a long time. And as we go forward, we have to determine which service components need to be offered online going forward. Because as I'm looking at it, some of the services probably are better offered online, such as a chat service that can communicate with the students late at night. That does not happen from the campus because we are not a call center infrastructure, but that can happen from remote. So as we come back to the campus, we reevaluate all our practices. We would make a determination of which areas we want to revert back to the past and which areas we embrace technology to move forward in the future. On the class offering side, we are keeping a close tab on what kind of classes are filling at what rate. As of now, I was a little bit surprised to see that our hybrid classes, they're filling at the fastest rate or the highest rates, followed by synchronous Zoom classes. And both our online and face-to-face classes are filling at the lowest rate. Now, again, these are very difficult information to interpret based on a couple of data points only. So we are keeping a tab on that and seeing how the classes are filling and trying to determine what's the best expectation of our student community so we can offer the classes in the mode that they want to attend those. That's about it from MJC, unless there is some specific question. Oh, before I finish, one more area is as we are preparing to come back to the campus. When a campus is not used for 15 or 16 months, there are situations that we would encounter when we come back. Like when I first went back to the president's office there, I had to take a bottle of pledge and some dusters to wipe out my desk. That's not unusual. Or when I leave that office and I'm going back to that office after 15 days, I do not leave my trash there. I pick up the trash and dump it outside because I do not want the leftover burgers to be rotting there for the next 15 days. So those are the kind of things that we have to keep in mind, that when we're getting into the campus, something may not work. And we have to have that compassion for all of our employee groups. So we treat that with tolerance, with compassion, and we work together so that we can repopulate the campus in an effective manner without stressing anyone out. That's from me.
Thank you, Dr. Bandyopadhyay. So I want to allow the trustees to ask questions of our three presenters, but I want to start off with, can you help me understand?
Chair Bolkin?
Oh, the public comment?
If we can.
Oh, yes, sorry. Thank you. Public comment before we do discussion. That's why I have a great stenographer. Thank you. Please read the public comment.
Okay, this one is from Colleen Lemberg, Senior Administrative Secretary from Instruction. It's regarding this item. Received email July 12th, repopulating colleges and central services from Dr. Javaharipur. That's what it's regarding. Good evening. First, thank you for giving me the opportunity to submit my comments to be read at this meeting. My expressed opinions are not meant to be disrespectful in any way. I don't believe there is enough evidence providing it safe to fully reopen our campuses. We have no control over who enters our campus, vaccinated or not, or our buildings, classrooms, and offices. There has been discussion of safety measures being put into place that has not been 100% completed. There are still COVID cases being reported. Even though the numbers are down, this pandemic is still very much with us. We have had the opportunity to be vaccinated, and my family is still practicing limited contact, wearing masks when outside, and staying home most of the time. That being said, to now be told that we, underline must, return by a very quick date with no open or transparent discussion being conducted amongst our colleges, I find this to be disheartening. I would also like to say that I felt this email to be offensive, as if I, along with my fellow classified staff, were being herded like rebellious children, being told we could not negotiate with our supervisors, but must go through the Office of Human Resources. I find it further offensive that the last point made states, in quotes, all faculty members should expect a full return to campus operations before the start of the spring 22 semester, end quote. I do understand why there should be a distinction, or pardon me, I don't understand why there should be a distinction. I've been working from home since April of 2020. There have been many setbacks and struggles, but I, along with my peers, have persevered and continued to work, making a valuable contribution to the college and the students. If we have proven able to withstand this and wish to continue to work from home, even at a staggered / weekly rate, I believe we should be given the opportunity to do so with our supervisor's oversight and permission. Thank you for considering my request. Respectfully submitted, Colleen Lemberg.
Thank you, Board Stenographer, for reading the public comment on behalf of Colleen Lemberg.
I also do see a raised hand.
I do see a raised hand for public comment before I go to discussion. Amy Lovett. Hi, Amy. Welcome. There, very good. We do have a limit on public comment to 5 minutes, so I will alert you if it goes over. So please share your public comment.
Good evening, Chancellor Young, Chair Bolkin, and fellow trustees. Thank you for this opportunity to speak before you today. My name is Amy Lovett. I'm in the Grants Department at Central Services. This year, I proudly serve as the CAC leadership team as First Vice President. When the majority of the YCCD community received an email communication regarding the repopulating the colleges and social services memo on Monday, July 12th, to repopulate the campus starting July 19th through the 2nd, the CSE leadership team has been inundated with questions and concerns. I would like to share with the board the 5 main concerns from classified professionals. First, communication. Second, time. Third, conflicting proposed and discussed date of return. 4, decision-making process. 5, the transition plan. First, in regards to communication, it deals with the language and the tone and the delivery of the message. The sentiment shared by classified professionals is that it feels authoritative and demoralizing. The language provides no latitude for further discussion, thus making it feel like we are demanded to go back to normal. The underlining message was to silence our voice and our concerns. The attached memo provides no clarity and leads to misunderstanding of the intent and procedure of the repopulating plan. The timing felt like it was very abrupt and very knee-jerk reaction. The memo was very out of the blue to send us back before the summer schedule has ended. As for the conflicting proposed and discussed date of return, for the last 480 days, the YCCD community has been hearing the same response. We will be returning to campus, we just don't know when. And to work with your manager for scheduling. During the first few months, there were work groups established to include all constituent groups to develop a return to campus guide. Both MJC and Columbia College have had town halls hosted by campus administration. Recently, Columbia has been informed that returning to campus would happen with the summer schedule ending on August 16th. And MJC has been informed that there would be a gradual return to campus during the fall semester with a full in-person return spring of 2022. The decision-making process felt there was a lack of shared governance and lack of input and feedback from both management and classified staff. When staff started to approach their managers with questions, they were unaware and had no answers. What happened to the district being transparent and honoring our shared governance process? There was zero buy-in from constituent groups. In the email, we were told that staff are no longer supposed to communicate and coordinate with their manager for scheduling conflicts, but only directly deal with HR. What is the process that HR will be using to determine a staff to alter their schedule? Has there been any discussion or plan to address the Delta variant? The transition plan neglects to address the logistics and safety, health, and concerns with regards to gradually bringing staff back to campus versus bringing everyone back at full occupancy at once. In the memo, there is no clear guidance in regards to the health and safety protocols and procedures to assist staff in returning to their work site. There is confusion about what to expect when the campus reopened. We asked the board to consider encouraging college and central services administration to provide unified communication in emails and town hall meetings on what to expect. I'd like to leave you with this last summary from one of our classified professionals. We are all aware and in full support of full reopening of our campus. Throughout this pandemic, information from the CDC, FDA, government, doctors, county, and everywhere else has been all over the board. It has been difficult all along to determine when things can resume. We do not fault our college leaders. We trust they want to do the right thing for students, faculty, and staff. They will be here working too. We knew this was coming, but with no possible future date of return set that can be determined at this time. Thank you for your time this evening and supporting our classified staff.
Thank you, Amy, for your public comment. And it's always a reminder I just can't stop from saying is that, we cannot engage in discussion with public comment, but please know that you've been heard. And at this time, seeing no further public comment, I'd like to invite the board to discuss with the presenters with any questions. Trustee Nicolau.
Lorraine, I just want to say thank you for a clean yet comprehensive presentation. And I would be very interested in knowing what programs will be affected in enrollment, and feel free to follow up offline in email. But what programs you mentioned would be impacted by those where vaccination is required? As we continue to talk about opening and enrollment, I think it's important that there's a clear distinction in goals and baselines, knowing that that's a deciding factor.
Thank you, Trustee Nicolau. Laureen, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Nicolau. Thank you, all of you, for your leadership. So the programs that I mentioned, I think what you're referring to are the allied health programs and the child development practicum that I mentioned. Those have always required a set of vaccination for those students for years. So those are still in place. at this time, a COVID vaccine is not a requirement for those programs. The other program, I'm trying to think of EMS, might also have had long-term requirements. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Trustee Hinton.
Yeah. So they are not required to have the COVID vaccine to be in those specialized programs. Is that correct?
Not at this time, and it's dependent on the receiving organization. These vaccination requirements generally come from our community partners, the hospitals, the ambulance, the either on campus or off campus child practicum. It's a state law now that there are certain vaccines. So right now, they aren't required across the board.
Do they have an exception to the rule for someone who, say, is allergic to eggs or something and really their life is put to danger, or because of them working around the children or healthcare, they just cannot participate in that?
Yeah. That's a good question. And there generally are always some kind of medical absolute contraindication availability for declining. What may happen though is that person may have an altered assignment or may not be able to participate fully in some of the interactions, but there are exceptions accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. Other comments?
If I may add a comment.
Yes, please do, Dr. Bondapatier.
Most of the programs have both courses available online as well as hybrid or face-to-face. So depending upon if a student is vaccinated, feels comfortable to come to the campus, or non-vaccinated or vaccinated, but yet does not want to come to the campus, there are options available for all of them. So we have different modalities to accommodate all the needs, whatever be the vaccination status or perception or cleanliness and whatnot. Only area that we are a little bit, it'll be easier if we have a larger number of vaccinations is athletics, because there is no way that we can have a football team who is not really co-mingling very closely or getting into the gym and co-mingling. And when they are not vaccinated, then they are required to wear a mask as of now. And those who are vaccinated, they are not wearing a mask within the same gym area, which creates some kind of a class structure out there. And this is something that we're just following guidelines. And we are not making any guidelines. This is what we are required to follow, depending upon the county's health standard and so on and so forth. So any kind of pod-based program, the more pods we can have are all vaccinated, that becomes easier. Also, it's not possible for a faculty member, let's say an English faculty member, how would that person know in the class who is vaccinated and who is not vaccinated and who should and should not wear a mask? And until we can do away with everything and the distancing, those issues become very difficult to operationalize.
Thank you. Yes, Lorraine, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with that. And I also want us just to mention that wearing a mask or not wearing a mask may not always tell us vaccine status. Even if we allow vaccinated people to not wear a mask, we may have many people who choose to wear a mask still because of the concern maybe for the Delta variant or others. So I think, the mask itself won't always give us a status of an individual. So just another comment.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members on this topic? I want to wrap up and acknowledge again your to-date report, Lorraine, and to both presidents. I think the board is interested, obviously, in keeping these updates regular and recognizing that the information is always changing. And recognizing that, which my esteemed colleague sitting to my right, separated by plexiglass here because we're following protocols, has reminded us that we have zero guidance from our legislators and our our state chancellor in terms of a uniform practice on how to proceed on this very challenging topic. So I can understand why, even given the accurate information that you've shared this evening, it still leaves some to be confused. And I don't know how to avoid that as the information and the protocols continue to evolve. So given what we know today, your presentation has been very, very timely. So thank you for that, and we look forward to the next one next month. We'll move now to 7.3, which is association reports. And we'll start first with Student Senate activity reports from Modesto Junior College President Maria Marquez. Maria? Greetings.
Hi. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Chancellor Young. I am glad to see you all this evening, and I'll go straight to my report for ASMJC. ASMJC continues with their summer training sessions for a couple days a week to prepare us for this upcoming fall semester. As mentioned previously, this year's training is focused on different team building activities, our role in shared governance, and learning about programs that serve our diverse population of students. All of these training sessions are to get to know each other better and prepare us to serve our MJC students. Throughout the summer, ASMJC will still be accepting application for students who are interested in a role as a student leader, where they can grow skills such as time management, teamwork, communication, and leadership development. ASMJC members are excited and ready to return to school for this upcoming fall semester and provide help for our students. I would like to thank every single person that is attending this meeting. I'm looking forward for this academic semester, and that concludes my report. I hope everybody is safe and enjoying this summer climate. Please let me know if there's any questions.
Maria, thank you. All the activities that the Student Senate has done and will do is always keeping in mind the well-being of our students, even considering coming back. So thank you for that focus. Moving now to the president of Columbia College Associated Students, Ricky Lee Corba. Is she available? I don't see, let's see, gallery view. I don't see Ricky Lee Corba. Okay, so if she appears, if the stenographer or if Kim can tell me, then you'll let me know. So we'd love to hear her report if she signs on. Moving then to the Yosemite Faculty Association YFA President Dimitri Kariotis. Welcome.
Greetings, Chair Volkin and other trustees and Chancellor Young. Welcome to July. Today is the 483rd day of working remotely, but given the news of our reopening plan, it looks like these days are slowly coming to an end. We look forward to helping to eventually resuscitate our campuses. I want to thank the district and the YFA negotiations teams for sending forward the tentative agreement. We look forward to it being agendized at the next board meeting and eventually putting it to vote. It's a product of hardworking YCCD employees committed to collaboration. I want to thank the board for covering our benefits for the next academic year and granting us time to find a creative solution to the benefits issue. We're excited about the next round. I'd also like to commend the colleges and Dr. Young for establishing the recent CCAP agreements with Connecting Waters and Stockton Unified, which I understand Deans Patrick Betancourt and Kristen Fry were instrumental in putting together. That's it. Good to see everybody. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimitri. As always, thank you so much. We'll move now to the faculty representative to the board, Alan McKissick. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me retract that. Let me go next to California School Employees Association CSEA President Roberto Reyes. Are you available?
How you doing, Board of Trustees and
Hi,
Chancellor Young?
Yes, welcome. We see you and we hear you. Welcome.
Good. Thank you. I would like to say I would like to thank the board for working with us during this difficult, uncertain times that is COVID regarding the renegotiation of our benefits. CSEA members continue to work hard to ensure the students can reach their goals of a higher education, even though these trying times. Members have worked nonstop at home and are on campus fulfilling their responsibilities, as well as assisting our fellow members when they needed it. At the start and throughout the pandemic, CSEA and YFA have continued to work when we could have paused until we agreed how best to move forward. But for the common goal of student success, I feel my fellow CSEA members did a phenomenal job in ensuring students were able to enroll and be assigned equipment that allowed them to continue their education, as well as continuing to keep campus safe and ready for reopening. In the Chancellor's 5-year strategic plan to help achieve his #1 goal is of attracting and retraining high qualified employees and successful regardless of where our work is done, and can appreciate the sacrifices we all have made for good of our district. In closing, I hope that appreciated and respect can be shown to our CSEA members by recognizing them as individuals and equality valued employees of YCCD. That includes my report.
Oh, thank you, Roberto, for that report. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Moving now to faculty representative to the board, Alan McKissick. Is Alan available? Let me see my gallery view. Oh, there you are. Hi, Alan. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to address you. I recently had an opportunity to join an in-person conversation after all this pandemic with Trustee Richards. Also present was the Mayor of Turlock, the Honorable Amy Bubak, who happens to be married to Trustee Richards. I'm having trouble remembering a more enjoyable conversation. Between the two of them, there's an amazing amount of knowledge and experience in higher education and local government and deep involvement in the community. I commend to you a couple who are straight-talking, dedicated leaders and incidentally, marvelous storytellers. I understand that a tentative agreement has been reached between the district and the YFA. And while I look forward to learning more about the specifics in coming weeks, it's great to know that the collaborative relationship between the district and the faculty continues. Many thanks to all of those from both negotiating teams for all that hard work and dedication to the new agreement. And speaking of hard work, at MJC, the fall semester will be the first under the fully implemented governance plan. This plan, supported by all constituencies at MJC, will allow incoming academic president Aisha Saleh and the rest of the Senate to best serve our students. I believe you will soon see why President Saleh is so well trusted and esteemed by her colleagues. And speaking of well esteemed, I see that on the agenda is the evaluation of Chancellor Young. I know board members have already heard stellar reviews from faculty association leaders, and I've spoken to that topic in previous board meetings. What I might not have mentioned is the context for my views includes service under what now seems like numerous chancellors. If pressed, I could tell you which past chancellor came in second in my personal rankings, but it would not be a close second. So today, to all my previous comments, I will just add two from colleagues I heard today. One was he works very hard, and the other was that improved morale in district is no coincidence. Incidentally, I also heard that his daughter, who attends MJC, is an excellent student. I hope I have not added to any pressure she might already be feeling. That concludes my remarks, and thank you again for this opportunity to address you.
Thank you, Alan. I'd like to hear some of those stories. Good storytelling. Look forward to that. Moving now on to Academic Senate activity report, starting with the Modesto Junior College Academic Senate President, Aisha Saleh. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I'm really happy to be here this evening, and I want to thank our Board of Trustees, Chancellor Young, and the District Office for the opportunity to address you all today. I am joining you for the first time as the Academic Senate President at MJC during a period of dynamic transition and I think really exciting possibilities. We have not yet had our first Senate meeting since I started in this new role, so while I don't have much to report in the way of Senate actions, I will go over some of the work we're continuing to focus on. And I'd also like to indulge myself just a little bit and reflect on the changes that have occurred over the last year and a half, and to look ahead at some of the possibilities that these changes have created. The last 16 months, we've faced a global pandemic, and its impact on our community and education have been immense. In order to meet the needs of our students and the community we serve, we had to adapt in ways that would have likely seemed impossible if it hadn't been forced by circumstance. We are immensely proud of the resilience and hard work shown by faculty, staff, administrative partners, and students as we grappled with uncertainty in many parts of our lives. We moved online, learned new technologies, worked collaboratively, and learned to communicate in new ways. At the same time that many of us were physically disconnected from campus, we were also more connected than ever with live Zoom lectures, virtual office hours, and virtual meetings. I was actually really surprised by the ways I became more connected to my students and colleagues. I've never had so many students visit office hours as they do now that they're all online. And students who never would have spoken up in class are thoughtfully and actively participating on virtual discussion boards. Our virtual Senate meetings have been better attended by faculty and have had more community involvement than I ever remember them having. Moving to virtual spaces created access for a lot of people who were previously unable to participate in person. And I hope that we can maintain that access whenever possible in the future. This fall, as we celebrate MJC's centennial, we are honoring the past while looking to the future and considering what it means to be a community-focused institution of higher education. It's an exciting time, and MJC's Academic Senate will have plenty to keep us busy. We're going to continue our work on Senate Resolution S19A, the creation of a teaching and learning center at MJC. With all of the changes in instruction modalities and the investments being made in HyFlex and other instruction technology, investing in professional development to make sure that we make good, pedagogically sound, and equitable use of the technology is essential. In keeping with several resolutions passed by the Academic Senate of California Community Colleges, we are looking forward to revitalizing the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee in support of the important work that needs to be done to make sure that everyone in our community knows that they belong and can succeed at MJC. The Teaching and Learning Center and the professional development it will provide will be instrumental in realizing this goal. We are also continuing the wonderful work supporting the education of the incarcerated started under Chad Redwing's leadership in Senate Resolution F19A. The pilot program was completed in the spring, and we hope to continue growing this program this fall to serve the REACT facility and the Juvenile Detention Center right off campus. Our work on guided pathways is progressing as well. The current phase being rolled out are the schools, and we can now build community and support around them since the campus will be more open. Our work on guided pathways has also led us to developing more contextualized learning, which gives our students valuable real-world connections to the content and skills they're learning in class. It has also encouraged us to further develop more equitable, streamlined curricular processes related to credit for prior learning in accordance with Board Policy 4235. These are just a few things that we'll be working on as we head into the next academic year. The MJC Academic Senate looks forward to working collaboratively with the Board of Trustees and the Chancellor and District Office to ensure the continuing quality of education at MJC, to develop dynamic and flexible approaches for our return to campus, and to deepen our roots in the community we serve, all while maintaining the primacy of our students as we work toward realizing our visions of MJC. That concludes my report. Thank you for your time.
Very nice. Thank you, Aisha. So happy to have you join us in giving us your report each time. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, same.
I understand that we do not have a report this evening from the Columbia College Academic Senate. I received a notice from Lana Von Epps that she would not be providing a report, but would be listening in. Thank you, Lana. And then Leadership Team Advisory Council, Jillian Daly is not providing a report this evening. So with that, we'll move on to 7.4 board report. This is my item. To remind the board and acknowledge to the public that at 2:30 today, the board had a special meeting to review its goals from this year, to consider our adoption of new goals for the coming year. We'll finalize those goals at our next meeting in August. Also, annually, the board conducts a self-evaluation, and all the board members have been sent the self-evaluation tool to respond to the questions related to our mission and vision and responsibilities and duties as governing board members. And those responses are due July 15th, tomorrow. And just a reminder that that document becomes a public document. So the results, both of the multiple choice items and also the comments made, are made available to the public. And we'll finalize looking at our self-evaluation also at our August board meeting in order to complement our goals for the coming year. And finally, as one of our most important duties, and that is to hire and support our chancellor. And in doing so each year, the board provides the chancellor with an annual evaluation. And we look forward to completing his annual evaluation at our August meeting. And that's all I have to report for that item. Moving on to 7.5 is presentation and updates from our district chancellor, Dr. Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, trustees, fellow colleagues, and members of our community. I know you are not in the room, but I know we are connected through technology. So wherever you are, thank you for listening in. My first item is regarding the vacant seat on my far right. That is the seat for our student trustee. This year, the student trustee is from Columbia College, but we have not received a student trustee from Columbia College yet. We look forward to a student trustee from Columbia College very soon. I put a lot of importance in that seat, that position, and that office, because it is the connecting link from the student as the largest constituent groups to the board, and the information stays both ways. Okay, thank you. My next item is an item that we have mostly forgotten, especially perhaps our friends and residents in the community. First, even though it's a long time ago, I want the community to remember that you have supported us with Measure E when it passed. With the funds from that measure, YCCD was able to purchase not one, but 3 different pieces of property. One in Patterson, another one in Turlock, and another one in Calaveras. The vision of YCCD at that time was to eventually build satellite educational centers at each location to better serve the residents in those communities. It is now 2021, and we have not been able to build any educational centers up there. I don't want you to leave with the concept that, oh, we haven't done anything. In the meantime, even though we have not put up buildings on those 3 pieces of land, the colleges, both MJC and Columbia, have extended service into those communities through classes with high school districts, through online, and through video conferencing. And of course, within the last few years, through dual enrollment and concurrent enrollment. Both colleges will continue those efforts. However, the district has to look at what uses are possible for those pieces of empty land. So we will continue to look in that direction. How could the investment made under Measure E be used to strengthen the educational programs or the facilities of the 2 colleges? And my last item is resuming normal operations. I want to thank the 2 colleges for the presentation tonight, and especially Laureen Campana for giving us an up-to-the-moment update regarding the conditions to safely return. And I join all of you in saying that it's been confusing. We've been hearing one set of announcement from one government agency, and then a different set from another one, and then there's another revision, and yet another revision. And so it's been rather difficult, if not confusing, or both difficult and confusing. Through it all, we have been thinking that the best way to serve our students is an early return to the campus in some shape or form. I want to remind everyone that both colleges took an early step to returning to the campus as early as last fall, which was last August. We had on-campus classes since then. Although we may not have talked a lot about it, but we have been offering on-campus classes since last August. And I want to thank the leadership teams of both colleges in increasing more and more on-campus sections. At the same time, we know during this past year, alternative modalities such as online and video conferencing, whether it's Zoom or Skype, have their place in the instructional array for our programs. So when we continue, even though when we reopen, be assured that those modalities will remain in place so that we can serve the diverse learning needs of our students. So once again, I thank the leadership team, and I thank the 2 colleges for making plans and preparations to welcoming back more students and more employees. So thank you very much. That concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Young. We'll move now to 7 point, hold on, I'm a little lost in my, I'm sorry, 7.6 6, which is the Fiscal Services Grant Activity Update. And this is just an information item only, but I want to acknowledge that it's a renewal of over $726,000 worth of grants and a new application for $474,000 plus in grants. And it's always impressive to see this information presented. So thank you for including it and the work that's being done to seek this extra money to support our programs. Moving now to action items and consent. Items 8.2 to 8.7. And I would like to pull 8.5 for separate discussion. So with that, is there a motion to approve items 8.2 to 8.7 minus 8.5 for separate discussion?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Richards.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Garrett. It's been moved and seconded.
Before we take a vote.
Please do.
Okay. I would just like to recognize on the consent agenda personnel items, retirements. Lawrence Montoya, 16 years of service, maintenance specialist locksmith at Central Services. I want to thank Mr. Montoya for his many years of dedicated service to the district, and I wish him well in retirement. Manuel Vargas, instructional support assistant, library and learning resources, MJC, 20 years of service. I want to thank Manuel for his years of dedicated service to the district and wish him well in retirement. And Carrie Craven, executive assistant, president's office, Columbia College, 14.5 years of service. As trustees, I'm sure we've all gotten emails from Carrie updating us on activities at Columbia College and messages from the president's office. And I want to thank her for that and her dedicated service, and we'll wish her well in retirement. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Garrett, for those acknowledgements. I'll move to the roll call vote from the stenographer.
I'm sorry, can I get the motion?
Motion was made by Richards, seconded by Garrett.
Thank you, I didn't get that. Trustee, Vice Chair Garrett?
Aye.
Trustee Beggs?
Aye.
Trustee Hinton?
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar?
Aye.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau?
Aye.
Board Chair Balkan?
Yes.
Vote is 7-0, motion carries.
Thank you. So we'll take item 8.5 for separate consideration on the consent agenda. This item is about Modesto Junior College Community Education International Travel to Italy, September 24th to October 7th, 2021. The backup on this is that this is a 14-day trip that showcases the best of Italy with multiple night stays in Rome, Florence, and Venice. Participants will enjoy tours of the Piazza Venezia, Roman Forum, Circus Maximus, Colosseum, Arch of Constantine, excavated ruins of Pompeii, Isle of Capri, Michelangelo's Figure of David, Piazza del Duomo, the ancient Republic of Pisa, and more. The cancellation waiver insurance, airfare, hotel accommodations, round-trip airport transfers from Modesto hotel transfers, and 18 meals are included. And what I understand from this item is that it is a community education endeavor that partners with a local vendor who provides Modesto Junior College with a percentage of the earnings in order to incentivize participation through community education, and that it requires a community college staff member to participate in this trip. Do I have that summary correct? Okay. And so the reason why I pulled this item is that I'd like to discuss a number of things related to this. Number one, the COVID-related guidance regarding travel. This is in no particular order. The consideration to be made that the district assumes considerable risk in allowing and approving its own staff member because once on the trip, we become partner in any risk assumed on that travel should we approve this item. So those would be my two concerns related to this. And I'm sure there are others, but I open it up for discussion from my colleagues.
I had I looked online because one of our concerns was there a waiver that participants sign or not? So when I went to our website, it says on the website, MJC will not be liable for delays, bad conditions of the road, storms, acts of God, public enemies, strikes, acts of terrorism, and other conditions beyond its control. And then it says all off-campus extracurricular field trips, excursions are voluntary. If you choose to participate, be advised that pursuant to the California Code of Regulations, Subchapter 5, Section 55450, you agree to hold the district, its officers, agents, and employees harmless from any and all liability or claims which may arise out of or in connection with your participation. So what I would like to see is if we can have what's on our website turned into some sort of waiver form that's vetted by legal that then allows this trip to go forward. Or it could be canceled later, but I would not be in favor of not approving it at this point because I think there are steps we can take that may allow it to go forward and still protect the district.
Thank you, Trustee Beggs. Trustee Hinton.
I lowered my hand because Trustee Beggs pretty much covered what I was saying, but I also think that some of the things that were told to us wasn't necessarily true as far as the COVID results in Italy was far less than what we have here in the United States. And also, I think that we're getting into a slippery slope when we start telling adults what, they're adults, they're not kids anymore. And as long as they know the risk and we're not held responsible, then I wouldn't say, approving it, but I'd like to maybe set it aside for another month to before we vote on it.
Thank you, Trustee Hinton. Other comments from trustees?
Well, when do we have to let these people know whether they can go or not? I mean, when is this travel? What is it scheduled for again?
September 24th.
I'm sure there's a drop date coming up here where they need to know. Are we the only ones doing this in California?
Chancellor Young, you have some background on that, I think.
Sierra College and Santa Rosa Community College are also in partnership with the same vendor, and they have trips lined up, but I believe those trips are later than the one that is slated for MJC's trip to Italy. And I believe those other two colleges have the same arrangement too. So they get a commission from the vendor.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Bondapadier, go ahead.
Yeah, these trips are cancelable because of the entire situation right now. But travel as such is picking up in general, if you look at general travel conditions. We do have some waivers from the folks who are participating in this travel. These are our non-credit program. So if you're interested in a specific kind of documentation, we can provide the documentation also and send it across to you. In terms of communicating to these people, it is in September, but the sooner we can communicate one way or the other, at least it's easier for them for the decision making rather than waiting for another month for the next board meeting. So if you can provide some documentation or work something, that'll be great.
Thank you. I have two concerns. One is that while I also saw the waiver language, I'm concerned that our ASKIP, our insurance provider, did they authorize that waiver language in order to exonerate us from any liability? And then coupled with number two, the fact that is the commission that we're receiving outweighed, does it outweigh the risk? You know, because if that's the only relationship is that the college receives a commission when the risk of injury or accident or heaven forbid any, you know, severe loss of something, of anything, whether it's personal items or property or life. But those are all possibilities for which we assume risk. And I just feel like a trip like this is very much out of our control when so far away and not under our management. This is a vendor, not our college. So those are my concerns. And I don't know if we have enough time to get answers to those questions. But I don't know if there's any other comments. Trustee Beggs and then Garrett.
I was just going to say that Nancy kind of summarized my bottom line, which is that people should be able to assess and choose their own risk, whatever. I'm not going to go bungee jumping. Other people might think that's fine. So I think that as long as this adheres to the normal standards, I know we've done these trips for years. I've never gone on one, but I just feel that we should go ahead with it with the idea that there is, I know it said there was cancellation insurance included. I assume that if a threat level goes up to a certain point, it will be out of our hands and it will be canceled. But I feel that we should approve it at this point.
Thank you, Trustee Beggs. Trustee Garrett, and then I'll go back to Dr. Bondapatier.
Well, we're not telling people what to do, first of all. If they want to sign up for a trip on their own, they can do that on their own. I think it's important we have a duty to protect the district from liability. Part of the reasons why we're up here. So it's a legitimate question, a legitimate thing to raise to make sure that our that ASKIP is aware of it and is okay with the indemnification language that is existing. So I think that's a legitimate, some legitimate concerns that the chair has raised. If ASKIP is satisfied and our council is satisfied, then I don't have a problem with approving it. But I think we need to vet that out and find that out to protect the district.
Thank you, Trustee Garrett. Dr. Bondapatier.
Yeah, I need to double check on that, but normally before it comes to the board, any of these proposals or any liability waiver language that goes past our risk management. That's the typical procedure that we follow. But since this is of critical importance, I can double check on that what exactly was the communication between risk management and this program. Normally it should be going through that.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. Other comments from the trustees? So I do understand that, you know, obviously this is a vendor's. The trip is going to take place regardless of our approval or disapproval of this employee's coverage. I just want to make sure that the trip is happening because it's a vendor who's providing this trip. There's an incentive, the way I understand it, to provide a commission to the district to couple it with the community education. Once coupled, then the employee is included in a trip by this company. Their expenses are paid, but the employee is our employee, and then that's where the risk is. So I don't think it's like you said, the trip is going to happen, and an adult, anyone can decide to go. We're really concerned about the liability that creates a nexus or a connection between approving this person going, that's who we'd be covering, is this one person, not the other agency. So yes.
Isn't the liability waiver on there pretty clear? I mean, I know you get sued if things go wrong, but
yeah, I don't disagree.
I'm just wondering why we're just not letting them do this.
Because I don't know that ASCIP, our insurance company, has approved that waiver.
Okay.
That's my question. It looks good to me, but I want to know, is that what the person who's going to pay the bill, should something happen, did they approve it? Or do they come back and say, you never checked it with us? That certainly is not our language. I just would like to know that.
Shantanu, do you have an opinion on this, whether we should approve this or not?
No, without checking with the risk management, normally it should go through them. But again, I would not like to assume anything. And I cannot cash hold of them right now as this conversation is going. So I would rather, since we're talking about this, get the confirmation. I can get it as soon as maybe tomorrow or something and communicate across to you. We can do that.
So might we approve this subject to Shantanu clearing up your concerns so we don't hold them up another couple meetings?
Conditional on approval from ASCIP?
You know, as long as our campus president feels that the insurance is whatever, maybe we
If that's
we
a motion, if that's a motion, Trustee Dr. Richards, I will second that.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve the trip conditional, or to approve item 8.5 conditional upon positive affirmation from our insurance provider that the waiver language is correct.
And that would be for the one employee that would be going on the trip.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Stenographer, roll call.
So I got Richards and my second, I'm sorry.
Trustee Garrett.
All right, thank you. Chair Garrett, Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton.
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Yes.
And Chair Bogan.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0. Motion carries depending on what we find.
Thank you. Good discussion. Thank you. Moving on
Thank you. What? I said thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I didn't know where the voice come from. Action items 9.1 Columbia College Child Care Center Agency Annual Report. Who's giving this? Or simply this item, the agency annual report is a requirement of the Child Care Center's grant funding from the California Department of Education Child Development Division and is due each year on June 1st. We've approved similar items before. Staff and families participated in compiling this comprehensive program, review and document. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees accepts the Columbia College Child Care Center Agency Annual Report as attached to the July 14th, 2021 agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Trustee Garrett, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Nicolau. Roll call vote.
Thank you. Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton.
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Yes.
Chair Bogan.
Yes.
Vote is 7-0. Motion carries.
Very good. Moving on to 9.2 Columbia College and Career Pathways, otherwise known as CCAP partnership agreements. The California Community College Chancellor's Office has an initiative for community colleges to establish a partnership with public school districts that is governed by AB 288. The purpose of 288 is to offer or expand dual enrollment opportunities for students who may not already be college bound or who are underrepresented in higher education, with the goal of developing seamless pathways from high school to community college. And this is a CCAP agreement between the district and, I gotta flip the page here. If someone gets to it first, let me know. This one is with, in fact, Dimitri called this out tonight. So thank you, Dimitri, for acknowledging this. This one is the CCAP agreement between Yosemite Community College District and Connecting Waters Charter School. And was there a second one? No, that's one. Is there a motion to approve?
item for a public hearing.
Oh, thank you. I'll open the public hearing on 9.2 at 7:39. I'll take public comments on the CCAP agreement between YCCD and Connecting Waters Charter School. Seeing no request for public comment, I'll close the public hearing.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt item 9.2 as listed on the agenda.
There's been a motion to approve the CCAP agreement by Trustee Garrett and seconded by Trustee Aguilar. Roll call vote.
Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton.
Aye.
Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Aye.
Chair Bulkin.
Yes.
Vote is 7-0, motion carries.
And I echo what Dimitri said. This is wonderful to see these continue to come across our table for approval. 9.3, Modesto Junior College CCAP agreement, same thing. This one is with the Stockton Unified School District. I'll open the public hearing for this CCAP agreement at 7:40. Taking public comment on the CCAP agreement between YCCD and Stockton Unified School District. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adopt item 9.3 as listed on the agenda.
There's been a motion by Trustee Garrett to approve CCAP agreement as noted on the agenda 9.3. Is there a second?
I so move the motion.
Trustee Nicolau made the motion to a second, and roll call vote.
Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton appears not to be present for the vote. Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Aye.
Vice Chair Bulkin.
Yes.
The vote is 6-0 with one not present for the vote. Motion carries.
Very good. Moving on to 9.4, 5-year construction plan. Annually, the 5-year construction plan is updated for submission to the California Community College's Chancellor's Office. The plan is the tool used to apply for construction funding based upon eligibility in the areas of lecture, laboratory, library, AVTV, and office space. Based upon the state's formula, districts with remaining space needs in these areas may submit proposals for funding. The plan has previously been provided to the board for review. So this is not the first time we've seen this. This is the update to that plan. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees receives the 5-year construction plan and approves it for submission for the California Community College's Chancellor's Office per Board Policy 3600, capital construction as noted on the July 14th, 2020 agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please go ahead.
So I read it and I want to compliment Judy Lancaster and the whole district, her whole district team for a very detailed and in-depth plan. I want to compliment her on that. And with that, I'll make a motion that the Board of Trustees acknowledges the receipt of the 5-year construction plan and approves it for submission to the California Community College Chancellor's Office per Board Policy 3600, capital construction as noted on the July 14th, 2021 agenda.
Been a motion to approve by Trustee Garrett. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
By Trustee Nicolau. Roll call vote.
Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton not present. Trustee Aguilar.
Aye.
Trustee Richards.
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau.
Yes.
Chair Bulkin.
Yes.
The vote is 6-0 with one not present. Motion carries.
Moving on to 9.5, Resolution 2021-16, Trustee absence from board meeting. The resolution number 2021-16 requests that the Board of Trustees to excuse the absence for Trustee Aguilar from the June 23rd, 2021 board special meeting of the Board of Trustees.
Madam Chair, I'd like to acknowledge Trustee Aguilar's hard work and dedication and wholeheartedly adopt item 9.5 resolution 20-21.16.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Trustee Beggs. Roll call vote.
Vice Chair Garrett.
Aye.
Trustee Beggs.
Aye.
Trustee Hinton. We're on 9.5. Trustee Aguilar.
Abstain.
Trustee Richards?
Yes.
Trustee Nicolau?
Aye.
And Chair Bulkin?
Yes.
The vote is 6-0 with one abstention from Trustee Aguilar, and the motion carries.
Moving on to 10.1, request for future board agenda items. I've mentioned before already that I've received a request for a special meeting to address a few topics, namely the development and the development of executive contracts, employee contracts, the review of accreditation standard 4, and the under board governance, the relationship between the CEO and governing board members as a review and a continuing education. So those have been the 3 items that I have forwarded to the stenographer to identify a special meeting date for those items. Any other future board agenda items from our colleagues? Being none, we'll move on to 10.2, comments from from the Board of Trustees. I'll start with Trustee Nicolau.
I just want to express my gratitude for everyone who's helped us set up the technology today. It's gone very smoothly from my perspective. It's been great to be in person, even if we have some plexiglass, to spend some time and have some lively discussion. So thank you all for making this meeting happen in person. Thank you all for still joining by Zoom to really dedicate your evening to this. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, Trustee Nicolau. Trustee Richards.
My comments about the same. It's really a pleasure to finally get to sit down, meet with you all in person. And, it's quite a difference than trying to meet on Zoom. I mean, you can really look at people's faces and know what they're thinking and really have good discussions. And I'm really glad we were able to get back on track. And I also want to commend our medical staff, Henry, our campus presidents. And I think you really embraced the challenge we gave you about a month ago that we really wanted to reopen campus, but we wanted to make sure we're doing it safely. And I think we're really on top of it. And I think we're really lucky to have the health professionals that we do.
Thank you, Trustee Richards. Trustee Beggs?
Jenny and Milt pretty much said what I'd like to say. Thank you to everyone, and it's great to be back.
Thank you, Trustee Beggs. Trustee Hinton?
Help put this together, and for those of you who have been out on Zoom, hopefully soon we'll be live for everybody, but just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's put extra time into making this happen tonight.
Thank you, Trustee Hinton. Trustee Aguilar.
Well, I think said all, but I'm just glad to be here and to see all you guys again, especially all our trustees and absolutely looking forward to football games. So hopefully soon.
Very good. Thank you, Trustee Aguilar. Trustee Garrett.
Just echo what everybody has said already. Thank you all very much for making this happen. And it was very nice to finally be able to meet Trustee Nicolau and Trustee Dr. Richards in person. So that's all. Thank you all very much.
Very good. Thank you. I want to acknowledge that this meeting was regularly scheduled to take place at Columbia College. And due to the due diligence that has been mentioned already around making sure that we're following the protocol, we focused our energy on making this room as protocol compliant as possible. And I look forward to perhaps on our next agenda item, next meeting to talk about replacing the meeting at Columbia College in the future so that we keep that balance. But because it's been such an incredible undertaking, as always, I want to acknowledge Jeff Swank, Scotty Gonzer, Tanisha Jackson, Sargon Yadigar, Kim Gibbs, and Graciela Molina for making all of this work. And yes, it's been wonderful to be back here, even though we're separated by plexiglass. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:48. Oh. And the next meeting, I don't have it in front of me. It's August 11th.
So the next regular meeting of the Board of Trustees will be held on August 11th, 2020. Closed session will begin at 3 and open session at 5:30.
Thank you very much. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting at 7:49.